faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look up in the sky! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's Superman! If you had a radio in the 1940s or a television in the 1950s, or if you're a super fan of the superhero, you knew that entire introduction, the moment I started. I love Superman. I have my entire life. I remember being 4 or 5 years old and introducing myself as Superman. I had the toys, I had the clothes, I watched the movies and the cartoons again and again. I wanted to be Superman. Superman represents a dream for so many. He's strong. He's nigh invincible. He can fly. He is seen and appreciated for who he is and what he does. When that alarm sounds, he goes everywhere, and he helps everyone. He quite literally lifts us up. Superman is, to use a biblical term, humanity's Ezer Kenegdo. The term Ezer Kenegdo comes from the story of Adam and Eve. The first word, Ezer, means help. The second word, Keneged, is a word of juxtaposition. Together they mean a fitting helper. In Genesis chapter 2, in the second creation narrative, God creates the first human being, Adam. Immediately, God realizes it is not good for the human to be alone, and sets out to create an Ezer Kenegdo, a fitting counterpart for him. First, God creates animals, all the wild beasts and the birds in the sky. And while Adam got along fine with them, he even gave them all names. None were quite right. So God tries again, this time taking a part of Adam and using it to create the woman that we know as Eve. While many traditions, including ours, have interpreted this through the lens of gender dynamics, asserting the correctness of heterosexual relationships or the realm of women to be subservient to men, I do not. Instead, this story highlights the importance of human connection, of human presence, of vulnerability, and of care. As it does for us, seeing the face of another person awoke Adam and Eve's compassion. It awoke their empathy. It awoke their humanity. Together, they became each other's helpers, each other's partners, each other's companions. They were one another's Ezer Kenegdo. As Jews, as human beings, we are called to care. Like Adam and Eve, we each carry pieces of one another. We carry relationships and memories. We carry experiences, stories, inside jokes. We carry secrets and tears and hugs. We may carry blood or even organs. It could be a lifelong friend or partner, someone you see a few times a month on the golf course or at Maj, someone you bump into at the grocery store. We each carry pieces from one another with no intent to return. Instead, we help others carry their load, help them feel seen, validated, supported. Here at TKE, we aspire to be caring, empowering, and joyful. To be caring, we must be ezer kenegdo for one another and for the world around us. Jewish practice embodies the idea of becoming ezer kenegdo, living up the value of caring for one another, even if we do not always call it out. On every Shabbat, we cover the challah. Yes, this is decorative and beautiful and adds to the experience that way. It is also an act of empathy. Our religion has a hierarchy of food blessings, with hamotzi, our prayer for bread, at the very top. At any meal with bread, hamotzi is said first. But on Shabbat, we bless the wine first, an expression of the joy and sweetness of Shabbat. If the challah were left uncovered, if it saw that we did not bless it first, it could feel unseen or unvalued. We cover the challah so we do not hurt its feelings. If we care that much about a loaf of bread, how much more do we care for our fellow human beings? Another example. Our custom of wearing white on Yom Kippur dates back a long time. Even back then, our community recognized how difficult it could be to have something white for Yom Kippur. Not every woman had white clothes, so they might need to ask to borrow from someone else. Borrowing is an act of vulnerability. It is an admission of what we do not have. In this case, something clean and white for Yom Kippur. What did our ancestors do 1,500 years ago? According to the Talmud, every woman started borrowing from someone else. Why? So as not to embarrass those who did not have a white garment. They created safe spaces where everyone would borrow, so that no one had to borrow, where everyone could dress up together without shame. And in doing so, every woman became an ezer kenegdo to one another. Great. As Jews, as human beings, we are called to care. Each of us may have our own understanding of care and our own care language. So what does it mean to be caring? And what do we care about? 20 years ago, I was a lowly first-year counselor at my beloved Jewish summer camp in Texas. One Saturday afternoon, I was assigned to the kickball field. While a bunch of kids played kickball, my friend and I sat under the shade of a tree talking about who knows what. Everything was going fine until, suddenly, out of nowhere, "You're out!" called a girl. "No, I'm safe," said a boy. "No, I hit you with the ball," the girl responded. Back and forth, more and more voices, a fight broke out, and play came to an immediate halt. I readied myself to head out there. I was going to hear from one side, hear from the other, and make a decision. One side would have felt validated, deemed correct, while the other would have felt discredited, unheard. Play may have continued, or it could have evaporated as kids ran off to other Shabbat activities. Luckily, I did not go out there that day. My friend Zach did. Zach stands, about 6'3", at the time, maybe about 280 pounds. He flopped out there, grabbed the ball, and stood towering over these kids. They encircled him, each yelling and shouting for their side. Zach indulged them for a few minutes, and then it was his turn. He lifted the ball high and proclaimed, "Hey, hey, hey, hey! Is the sky up?" Confused, all the kids said, "Yeah." Zach again, "Is the ground down?" "Yeah." The kid said, laughing now, "Do you want to play kickball?" "Yeah!" shouted all the kids in response. Zach handed them the ball, kickball resumed, and he walked off the field back to me, where I sat, awestruck, with my jaw firmly settled on the grass below. That day, Zach did not practice justice ethics. He did not, as I would have, care about who is right and who is wrong. Instead, he practiced care ethics. He found a solution that served everyone and maintained connection and relationships. That day, Zach was an Ezer Kenegdo for those kids, and he was and still is an Ezer Kenegdo, a fitting counterpart for me. Dr. Joan Tronto, a professor of political science at the University of Minnesota, identifies 4 primary stages of care: awareness, initiative, giving, and receiving. Stage 1, awareness, noticing that someone is in need of care. When the argument on that kickball field started, Zach noticed the kids were in need of care. Let's ask ourselves, what needs are we aware of in the world? And what can we do to make ourselves more aware? Step 2, initiative, assuming responsibility for care. Zach could have let me go out there, but instead he waved me off and assumed responsibility for it himself. What needs do we notice but fail to act on? What do we ignore or assume that others will handle? Step 3, giving, conducting the actual work of care. Zach intentionally chose how he would offer care and made sure that that is how he followed through. How thoughtful, how intentional are we in the care that we offer? Does it do more to address the need or make us feel good for doing it? Stage 4, receiving, the response of the person cared for. Though perhaps not consciously, those kids welcomed and appreciated Zach's attentiveness, responsibility, competence, and responsiveness, the 4 attributes associated with the full scope of care. How often do we pause? Do we make space to listen to the voices of those we care for, to evaluate our care from their perspective. Care, says Dr. Toronto, is maintaining, continuing, or restoring the world. Care, then, is tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is more than an umbrella term for feel-good activities. Tikkun olam requires that we wrestle with reality, that we see and accept the iniquities and vulnerabilities of the world we inhabit, and commit ourselves to being agents of change. We have to be aware. We have to take initiative. We have to give of ourselves. And we have to listen to the world's responses. Care is an act of meeting another's vulnerability with our own. We meet vulnerability with courage. For every act of vulnerability is an act of courage. It takes courage to be vulnerable. It takes courage to show up and be seen. We care by being present when another has the courage to share their vulnerability. Every week, as we prepare to say Misha Merach or the Morning Kaddish, we invite people to share names. This is an act of vulnerability. It takes courage to share aloud, I'm hurting. It takes courage to say, I'm thinking of a loved one who really needs help. It can be uncomfortable, drawing attention to ourselves in that moment. It takes courage to say, I need help. These moments, every time a fellow congregant shares a name, these are opportunities to care, opportunities to be present, opportunities to say, Hineni, here I am. The Caring Community Board outside is all about presence. Moments when we are willing to say, Hineni, and be present for one another. To accept the pun, our presence is our gift. It's easy to say, I don't know how, or I'm not a very good cook. Do it anyway. We hide behind these excuses, shielding our presence from the world and from each other. To quote one brave little girl, what do we do when we're scared? Do it scared. On Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Foster told the story of the oven of Achnai. That story is built on a verse from Deuteronomy, in which Moses says to the people of Israel, Lo b'shamayim hi, it, the Torah, is not in heaven. In that story, Torah means the laws, the rules, the way we go about making decisions. Those parts of Torah are not in heaven. Neither are Torah's heroes, or its values, or its role models. We too can be Azer Kenegdo, it says. Judaism's heroes are not perfect. They are flawed. They make mistakes. They grow. They are human. So are we. We can be underestimated and succeed, like David against Goliath. We can see the writing on the wall and build an ark against a coming storm, like Noah. We can get tongue-tied and still speak truth to power, like Moses. We can support one another, like Miriam and Eve. We can be Ezer Kenegdo too. This summer, we got a new Superman movie. It told a new Superman story, very different from what we've seen over the last decade. When the prior Superman movies communicated strength and power, this new one is about hope and humanity. At the end, Superman stands face to face with Lex Luthor in the heat of rage. Lex calls Superman, "You piece of trash alien!" "That's where you're wrong," Superman says. "I'm as human as anyone. I love. I get scared. I wake up every morning, and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other, and I try to make the best choices I can. I screw up all the time, but that is being human, and that is my greatest strength." Superman means so much to so many because he has the courage to be present, the courage to be vulnerable, the courage to care. This new Superman embodies what it means to be an Ezer Kenegdo. That is his superpower. And while we may not be able to fly, we can embody that superpower too. We can have the courage to care.